Hello, my name is Nick Procopio, and these are my participants. Today I'd like to talk to you about how violent video games are perceived and the ESRB ratings that are falling behind them. Today, video games are considered more violent than ever because of the way things are in the gaming world. The more violent the game, the more the game is sold. Whether it be Mortal Kombat, which has the immature rating, which means mature for 17 or plus, which parents seem to ignore nowadays and buy it for their child who is 10, 8 years old, 13 years old, and nobody understands why they buy it for them. Violent video games began with a game called Wolfenstein 3D. Wolfenstein 3D was a game that was not considered violent to the media public, but yet it gave a person a chance to go around and quote-unquote kill German Nazis during World War II, because the character takes place during World War II, so everybody thought it was cool. It was amazing, but they had made down-toned versions of the game. There was no blood, no violence. Not as much violence, just a first-person shooter, which was the start of all first-person shooters. Then that same company by John Carmack, who is also a Doom 3 creator, stated that Wolf 3D was the beginning of what is called the violent video game era. But what he didn't know is that it was the beginning of an era of violent video games for children. Of course, there was the Columbine shooting, and they blamed Doom during that time because Doom was one of the games that those kids played all the time, and they thought it was that was the game that caused them to become violent. Well, there's been studies out there saying that has been a fact that violent video games don't cause violence in children. It's the children who become violent by using violent video games. That's contradictory in some senses, but yet people don't understand that violent video games were made for entertainment, and they're not made for kids who are 13, 14 years old, 16 years old even, who did the Columbine shootings or the shootings throughout America. There's a reason why, again, that there is an ESRB rating. When Doom first came out, it didn't have an ESRB rating. Neither did Wolfenstein. But Doom was re-released 2 years later with the brand new ESRB rating for M, which is for mature. Mature meaning, again, for adults or more. The next thing I'd like to talk about is Mario. Mario is not considered a violent character. Some parents have gone out and said that Mario is a very violent and introverted character because he bounces around and jumps on mushroom people or turtles and is considered a violent character. But most parents you go around asking, they know Mario is not a violent character. That's why Nintendo, if you ever notice, does not make any. Nintendo, the company themselves, do not make violent video games. There is no Doom for the Wii or Wolfenstein for the Wii or anything like that because it's not considered part of their criteria for the Wii system. The Wii system is for the younger generation, the younger kids. Well, that's why Mario is included in all their games, and Sonic even now, because it's more entertainment, more exciting for them. And then parental involvement within games. The worst part is the fact that some parents just don't care. When parents don't care, that leads to violence in the child because that's all they do is sit in their room and play video games. And it can cause the kid to be in base reality, enjoy the game as if it is a reality. He becomes violent. So there's the contradicting part from earlier, because kids do become violent by playing those video games because they think it's their world. And again, parents should again keep an eye on the ESRB ratings, because ESRB ratings are there for a purpose. A website I read says parents are outraged by companies because they are blamed fully. The companies put ratings on their games for a reason. The reason being, as what Miyamoto said, is that in order to have the companies put in restrictions is to actually use the ratings. If the companies don't follow the ratings, the companies lose money. Families start suing, violence pursues, and there's no way around it. So the companies fail. The ESRB ratings were put in effect by Daniel Sanderson, as he says it's important to know what the ratings on the video games your children play. The website that the article published gives a description of what each rating means, so follow it. Parents, I can't stress enough, you use the rating system and upon it, it was put in place to monitor kids and the companies, again, to know that violent video games are out there and that they are playable for the adult level, not for children level. The reason why this is a good persuasion speech is because there's two types of parents: parents who believe video games are violent and the parents who don't believe video games are violent. Video games are violent for some parents because they grew up in the age of Atari. Atari games were not violent, while then you got parents today, kids my age, who think video games are violent or not violent because it's just the way the generation is. And as parents go about to buy games for their children, they buy more and more and more. As the more violent they get, the more the parents seem to keep buying for the ones who don't care. But again, back to the Atari generation, which is my parents' generation, we weren't allowed to play violent video games until they knew, when we were old enough to understand, that this isn't reality, this is fake. As fake it is, it was entertaining to keep us entertained, but we also didn't sit in front of the TV all the time, and we always played Atari. Atari was great, and now they got Xbox 360, PS3, Wii, and all these amazing systems and all the graphics they can use nowadays, and that's why the games become as violent. So in closing, I like to say, keep your kids under distress as you are watching the ESRB ratings. The more of the ESRB ratings you choose for your child, like so if your child's ages 3 through 10, let them play everyone games. As everyone games consider, it'd be like Mario or Sonic or anything like that. And then once your kid gets older, 13, 14 years old, they're allowed to play the T rating games, which are 10 or higher, which can be considered some teen rating games as well. Some of the teen rating games are also in the everyone area. So again, I like to emphasize, parents, please keep your child away from the mature games because it will cause violence for certain kids who make it their reality. Thank you. Again, here is my participants, and this was my persuasive speech on how violent video games are perceived today and the ESRB ratings behind them.